Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker and welcome to episode 334. You are not your worst moment. Why is it so hard to forgive yourself? You know, I've noticed something over the years working with clients, and that most of us are much kinder to other people than we are to ourselves. We can tell a friend, look, you made a mistake, or you were doing the best you could. We'll tell people you're only human. But when it's our own mistake, we become judge, jury, and lifelong prosecutor. Well, why is that? Welcome back to the Summer of You series on the Own It Powercast. And as you know, this summer, we're focusing on one of the most important relationships I think you'll ever have, and that's the one you have with yourself. Last time we talked about rebuilding self-trust and what it means to become someone you can rely on again. But if we're going to truly heal that relationship, I think there's another question we have to ask. And that is, why is it so hard to forgive ourselves? So today we're going to be talking about mistakes and regrets and moments we wish we could undo. And so many of us continue carrying guilt long after we've learned the lesson, just quietly believing that if we stop punishing ourselves, we're somehow letting ourselves off the hook. But what if holding on to shame isn't helping you grow? What if it's really just keeping you stuck? So let's really talk about that difference and why healing asks something very different of us. So the first thing that we can often do is confuse guilt with growth. Because many people believe if I stop feeling bad, I'll stop being a good person. Like it's going to look like or seem like I don't care anymore, or I've forgotten what I've done. And so we keep punishing ourselves as though shame somehow proves we care. Now, guilt, healthy guilt, has a purpose, I think. I think it helps us own what we did and helps us rectify it and hopefully learn from it to become better people. To have compassion for the other person or the people that we might have hurt. And we want to have integrity. But endless punishment doesn't have a purpose. Remember the difference between shame and guilt and how often we feel both. But guilt is what we've done, and that is good. Like Brené Brown talks about, it's conducive to behavior change. There's a positive correlation there. We want to make changes. We grow from it. But shame is different. Shame is who we are. And maybe, just maybe, you're not that person anymore who screwed up. Maybe you're not the one who acted impulsively, maybe even selfishly, maybe out of hurt and anger, even rage, which old trauma rage would be my guess. Maybe you've grown. Like really learned a lot from what happened and made those defining moments that change your beliefs about life and about yourself. How hell no, you don't want to be that person anymore. We're healing, so we know now, or we can imagine what the other person or people might be feeling. We're growing in our empathy because we had to feel some for ourselves first. And I want to stop here for a moment and say, you would not be feeling this healthy guilt and unhealthy shame if you weren't ready to look at this. And if you hadn't been doing some healing work, what you would have done is stayed in denial, defended yourself, just ran from the truth, denied all of it, probably blamed other people, like because of you, I kind of stuff. So I just want to stop and say it's actually a healthy sign that you're feeling guilty. We just want to do it in a good way. So the key point here is learning changes us, hopefully, but shame traps us. I think shame keeps us stuck in so much self-loathing because we actually become more myopic. And guess what? Then we take less responsibility. So the way out of the hole is, yes, owning it, but in the context of loving ourselves enough to allow for change. Allowing ourselves to become different, to be different, to live differently. The research shows that a lot of people actually can not change the past, but help themselves feel better about what's happened by living differently today forward. By different values, and really owning those values and doing their best. So endless punishment is not going to help you feel better. It's going to keep you stuck. And guilt is good at first because it's going to help you define what you did and own it and all the things and do what you need to do to make amends for that. But unhealthy guilt, if you sit in it too long, becomes about who you are. And also it's going to keep you from having boundaries and asking for what you need. So there's the difference. The other thing that can keep us stuck and make it hard to forgive ourselves is the standards that you hold yourself to. Like, would you ever expect your friend to never say the wrong thing, never choose the wrong relationship, never trust the wrong person, to never make a parenting mistake, to never waste money, to never stay too long, maybe never miss an opportunity? Of course not. Then why do you expect that from yourself, even if you deny that out loud? Well, perfectionism and the prison thereof is something we mention a lot here on the show because so many people struggle with it. Some people are even proud of it at first. And it usually goes hand in hand with that people pleasing because I think it's all emotionally based and it's emotional trauma informed and it's fear based. It's fear based ways of looking at yourself in the world and at other people. And guess what? That's why you can also be hard on people you love when you're stressed behind closed doors because you're hard on yourself. It's one thing to do your absolute best, and we all know what that is, and to try to live out your personal values on a given day, but you aren't perfect, and neither am I, nor is anyone else. It doesn't exist. And we'll talk about accountability in a moment, which matters. But first, let's look at the impossible standards you might be setting with zero context of what happened. Now, context doesn't let us off the hook from what we've done, but it does help explain some things. A lot of clients I work with around this and through my own work, I've noticed it's actually a lack of boundaries, like trying to do too much at once. So, of course, we forget that thing or forget to call them back. We're attempting to do the improbable, and I think sometimes even the impossible, by not taking into account the reality that, guess what, multitasking is a lie, and we're only one person, and we have to be more realistic. So maybe the people-pleasing and a lack of no, even to ourselves, like, hey, I have no time or no business trying to get that done today, is the bigger culprit here. So we have to zoom out and really grab larger context and see what's really going on here. It's not ever just about perfectionism. Perfectionism exists with some other fun things like procrastination and people-pleasing and lack of boundaries and some emotional trauma back there. Some kind of emotional abandonment that made you think that you had to perform for love, that you had to do it perfectly to make up for it, to compensate, to make everything okay, to avoid conflict, to get approval. And you don't. So try to switch the focus to learning lessons and improving, not perfect. Focus on progress. I'm getting better. I'm making adjustments. I'm getting help. Maybe I'm getting some parenting training. Maybe I'm stepping back. Maybe I'm taking time to breathe, be more mindful, change course, that kind of thing. None of those words I just mentioned are rigid, black and white, or absolutes. That's what we want to get away from. You want to get into progress, not perfect. So there's ownership there, but you're not trying to control all the outcomes. Speaking of such, sometimes you're judging yesterday with today's wisdom. This is a big deal. You know more now. If you've been listening to the show, you know a hell of a lot more than you did a year ago, hopefully. You're stronger now. You're healthier now. You're working towards becoming healthier. And you're judging a younger version of yourself using knowledge you didn't have then. And maybe you weren't healed enough. Like, I think there's an order of business to this work. I say that all the time because I believe that. Like, if you didn't have a safe place back then to really process why you struggle with what you struggle with and what people did to you and where you were and why, there's no way you could have done certain healthy things. The math will not math. I don't care who you are. And that's what I mean by this. So judging a younger version of yourself using knowledge and healing and love and support and that you didn't have back then. And that's not fairness. I think it's hindsight pretending it was foresight. Here comes that perfectionism again. And remember, you're not that unique, neither am I. And you don't have special powers that the rest of us don't have in that regard. You have other powers, but not that. So what do you say to yourself? With compassion and maybe some sadness, wow, now that I've done some healing, I can really see why I let people hurt me back then. Of course I did. That's all I knew. That's all that was around me. My parents didn't teach me what I should require in my relationships, like really grabbing context. And then you say, but here forward, I know better. So I got to do better is the phrase. And you will. Now, forgiveness isn't pretending it didn't matter. It is not denial. It's not minimization, because that's another one of those fabulous survival skills I know a lot of you want to hold on to. People fear forgiveness means saying it was okay, and it isn't. Forgiveness says, look, I acknowledge what happened, and I take responsibility where appropriate, and I learn. And I stop making myself pay forever. But let's stop here and talk about the difference between healthy accountability and self-punishment, because I don't think many people really make the distinction. Healthy accountability, to me, means I own what I did. I'm not backpedaling it. I'm not minimizing it. I'm calling it. I get it. I own what I did. And I apologize when and where it's needed, and often to myself. Maybe I let myself down by putting too much on my plate and not being able to show up in ways I wanted to show up. Healthy accountability says I repair what I can, and I take responsibility for learning how to do different, to change it, and I move forward. I don't step over it. I move through it. I own it, and I move forward. Self-punishment, rather, says I replay it forever and ever. I define myself by it. Defining myself by it means I assume I don't deserve happiness. Maybe it's why I never let myself fully heal. I don't let good things into my life. Maybe I sabotage good things coming into my life, like good people or opportunities or both. Because deep down, maybe I don't think I deserve it because of that shit I did like 10 years ago. So I never let myself fully heal. And in essence, I keep proving to myself that I'm not enough. And that creates that core belief, like we've talked about here, like, boy, that's going to drive the bus with everything for you. So healing is about repairing the relationship that you have with yourself. That means taking accountability, but mixing in some grace and some compassion and understanding. It's not about becoming perfect and punishing yourself forever. And if you don't believe me, think back to the last time you felt like shit about yourself. Did you do something healthy? Probably not. You probably drowned in the wine or the chips and the ice cream or all of it watching Netflix just to not feel it. Maybe to focus on fixing someone else or working too much or starting 2 new projects because you couldn't handle the pain of being you. So it doesn't work, and it doesn't help us. So I want you to take a moment right now, if you can, and picture yourself 5, 10, 20 years ago, a year ago, and ask, what were you carrying back then? Like, what were some of the burdens? Whatever you can handle remembering. If it's too much, it's okay. Do you remember what you were afraid of? That could be like a whole day thinking about and journaling it, right? Maybe what you didn't know yet. Like we learn a lot when we do our healing work. Like we learn like new things like, oh, boundaries aren't mean, or self-care is not selfish, right? So what did you not know? What got distorted for you by unhealthy people, rather? And then what were you trying to survive? And be honest. This isn't about blaming other people around you, but it's about getting real and realistic. Like if you had toxicity around you, you were trying to survive. If you were just trying to like put food on the table, you didn't have time to do anything else, nor did you have the energy. If tears come up, it's okay. This can be incredibly emotional as you do this. But I want you to look back in love, maybe even physically hug yourself right now if you can. You're not denying it, but you're looking back at them and you're saying, I am so sorry. I wish it could have been different. I wish we could have been different. I'm doing it different today. So maybe healing isn't pretending you never made mistakes. Maybe healing is just realizing that you don't have to keep introducing yourself as the worst thing you've ever done. And you don't do this out loud, but you may do it quietly. And you are so much more than your hardest season. You're more than your biggest regret. And I promise you, you're more than your worst moment, because worst moments don't happen in vacuums. Grab that context, you understand, and maybe it's finally time to let that person come home. So remember, making a mistake doesn't make you a mistake. And that taking responsibility leads to growth, but shame will keep you stuck. And that self-forgiveness is not forgetting the past. It's refusing to let the past define the rest of your life, because it doesn't have to. So today we talked about how we can offer compassion to someone else, yet really struggle to extend the same grace to ourselves. And if you've been carrying guilt over a past decision, maybe you're replaying old mistakes, maybe subconsciously even defining yourself by a season of your life that, God, you wish had gone differently, you're not alone. And we talked about how self-forgiveness doesn't mean we don't take responsibility and take action. It just means we learn to make peace. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm hoping this summer review series has been helpful. Reach out and let me know. Let me know what else you'd like to hear as topics on the show. Make sure you check the show notes for the coursework. And there's Power Hour openings for me this coming month. Just reach out if you have any questions. I'm here. All right, so pay it forward. Keep loving you and focusing on you. And I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.